following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. This is Casey's Take on Sports, a guy who always has a take. Covering sports all across Middle Tennessee. Now, here's your host, covering sports for the Dixon Post and the Cheatham County Exchange with his take. Here's Casey Patrick.
How are y'all doing? I know it's early week for me. It's early in the day for me. It's 11 o'clock here right now, but that's morning time for me. I know it's probably a rough week for a lot of the people that are going to be watching this. A lot of us Titans fans. That's going to be the first thing we talk about. I'm going to talk about Tennessee Titans. I'm going to talk about Ryan Tannehill with that. My second take today is actually going to be a preview of the upcoming conference championship games. And then with our third take, we're actually going to move over into, listen, as far as I'm concerned, it's baseball season. But of course there's a lockout right now. We're going to get into that a little bit. And then as usual, fourth take is going to be some local sports in the area. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. So disappointment would be the word that I'm looking for. I'm sure most of us watched the game Saturday. I don't really believe in history and it playing. I believe in history. I don't believe in history playing a role in current events as far as sports goes. So 2008, 2001, you can talk about that all you want. You can talk about, whatever other year it was where they were the first seed and they fell. None of that really bothers me. What bothers me is what happened Saturday. I had been saying all year long that if the Titans were healthy in the playoffs, that's all that mattered. And they were more healthy than usual, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Of course, Derek, he didn't exactly look like himself, but the offensive line didn't block for him either. It's a whole 11-on-11 thing. If you hold Cincinnati to 19 points, I feel like that's a automatic win, like every time. But it wasn't, and there's plenty of blame to go around. And I know I said in a little intro we're going to talk about Tannehill, and we are. But first, I got to get this off my chest. Todd Downing is not very good at his job. He's just not. There were moments this year where I felt like, he was kind of ahead of the curve and he had the defense figured out, but there was a lot of time where he didn't really know what he was doing. I also felt like Foreman, what he had four rushes for 60 something yards. I know he had most of that on one big carry and that's fine, but Deontay Foreman, who's been really good since Derek went down and he only got 4 rushes, that don't sit right with me. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't sit right with me. It's total disappointment, complete disappointment. And I blame Downing. I blame Vrabel. I blame Tannehill. I blame everybody pretty much equally. Man, no, that's not true. I blame Downing more than most. He's awful. He's just not very good at his job. And I can speak from experience because I'm not good at my job. But Tannehill, and this is the important thing. I know that there are a lot of Titans fans, and look, just stick with me for a whole minute here. I know there are a lot of Titans fans that aren't very happy with Ryan Tannehill and how he played and how he has played the last 2 times in the playoffs. Trust me, I'm a Titans fan. I don't want to watch him pee down his leg every time he gets in the playoffs. And it feels like in order for the Tennessee Titans to be successful in the playoffs, especially with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback, it has to be that Baltimore Ravens and New England Patriots game plan from a few years ago where the Titans got to the AFC Championship Tannehill doesn't need to throw the ball more than 12 times. If he throws the ball more than 20 times, I feel like the Titans have less of a chance to win. When the Titans beat Miami 34-3 or whatever the score was earlier this year, the Titans ran the ball 40 times and they threw it 18 times. That's the winning formula. It may not be for everybody. I get that Cincinnati's going to throw 45 times at least next week. I get that Kansas City's going to throw a lot. I get that other teams throw the ball a lot. I don't care. Other teams don't have Derrick Henry. Other teams are not built the way the Titans are. I just feel like Tannehill there needs to be a leash on what he's really allowed to do. And I know that's kind of scary because if you're going to run a quarterback out there, I mean, you want to trust him, and I do trust him, but I don't think the Titans have a very good chance to win if he throws the ball more than 20 times. Now the other deal is, listen, I'd love to have Aaron Rodgers or any of these, big name quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. Financially, the Titans can't do it. They just can't do it. It would be malpractice as a football organization to leave that much dead cap money and go get another quarterback that we cannot afford at that point. So there's a lot left to be done from now until next year when the season gets started off. But Tannehill's probably going to be the starting quarterback. I think he can win. I think he can win a Super Bowl. I think he needs a lot of help around him. Everybody has to be better. And that's what I'm going to end with. Everybody has to be better. Offensive line, skilled players, defense was good, but they got to continue that. All right, we're going to go on to the next take. All right, now with our second take, I want to talk about, at first I was going to make Tannehill his own thing, and I was going to talk about him a little bit more, but the more I sat here and thought about it, the more I decided I wanted to talk about the upcoming week of football. And basically everybody knows what the matchups are now. Bengals, Chiefs in the AFC, that game's going to be at Arrowhead. San Francisco and LA, that game's going to be at SoFi. So I'm actually rooting, like actively, it's completely 100% bandwagon, but I'm actively rooting for a Bengals-Rams Super Bowl. I, like most other people that watch NFL, are tired of watching the Chiefs and the Buccaneers every year. The Buccaneers are out now. We just got to get rid of the Chiefs. That's going to be really hard for the Bengals. It's going to be really, really hard for the Bengals. The Titans sacked Burrow 9 times. Now, the defensive front for the Chiefs is not nearly that good. Not nearly as good as the Titans, but they're going to get to Burrow. Except Burrow's just going to be able to throw the ball around a little bit more. Jamar Chase is really good. He is really good. Tyler Boyd is good. T. Higgins, good. Azuma, whatever his name is, I don't know how to say it, and I apologize, but he's a good tight end, especially as a vertical threat down the field. Big guy. He can run well. Not side to side so much, but in a straight line, he's pretty good. I think the Bengals can win this game. They obviously won just a few weeks ago, but the Chiefs, I still don't. I feel like that game the other day was absolutely nuts against the Bills. That was one of the best football games I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't remember a game where I grabbed my head and went, "Oh my God," so many times because of whatever happened. It was nutty to watch. I really enjoyed it. NFL overtime rules are crap, but that is a whole different conversation for a different day. I think the Bengals can win this game, though. I'm actively rooting for the Bengals to win the game. I like Joe Burrow. I've liked him ever since that 2019 LSU season. That was fun to watch. Joe Brady is the passing game coordinator or whatever you want to call him down there. They had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Speaking of the Chiefs, they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Jamar Chase obviously was there. Justin Jefferson. That was a nutty offense, and they were fun to watch. And that's when I really started enjoying getting to watch Joe Burrow. Hopefully, I enjoy watching him this upcoming week take down the Chiefs. That would just be fantastic. But I think the Bengals can win this game, but I feel like the Chiefs are going to win. Now, I think the Chiefs have still not really played as well as they can or as well as they have in the past. I still don't think they've gotten there this year yet, but they're still not bad. And here's the big thing. They're experienced. I mean, this is a few years in a row now that they've had this same experience now where they get to the same point. This is a good team that's been here. Andy Reid, I know he was known as a choke artist when he was younger, but I mean, the guy's been in the situation a lot. Zach Taylor hasn't. Now, Zach Taylor went into Nashville the other day and won, but going into Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game, I think that's probably a little bit harder because the Titans, I mean, they scored 16 points. You should be able to win if your opponent scores 16 points. But I got to take the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to win, even though I will actively root for the Bengals. Now, over in the NFC, I hope the Rams just wash San Francisco. I don't have anything against San Francisco, but I like Matthew Stafford. That dude was absolutely he caught the short end of the stick playing in Detroit. I mean, ask Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, all those guys playing in Detroit for that long. Now, he had Calvin Johnson, but that was it. Can you name any of the offensive linemen that he had? No, you can't, because they didn't talk about him until he got sacked. Matthew Stafford has never had anything around him other than Calvin Johnson and a few other halfway decent receivers. Now he's got some talent around him. He got a lot of talent around him. He's got a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. I really want to see Matthew Stafford get that ring. I feel like he's played hard. I feel like he's a good dude. I hope he wins. San Francisco, nothing against the actual, team or the people on it. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is very good. I like Deebo Samuel. But I know a couple local people here in town in Dixon that they're annoying, and they're San Francisco fans. So I want them to lose because of that. But I feel like, man, it's at SoFi. The Rams have the better quarterback. The defenses are both very good. The skill players are both very good. Coaches are both, just nutty, intelligent guys. I think it comes down to the quarterback. And San Francisco has Garoppolo. LA has Matthew Stafford. I'd much rather have Matthew Stafford. Rams win. I think it's close. I know San Francisco beat them both times this year. I don't care. That don't matter to me. I think the Rams win this time when it's important. Rams, hopefully Bengals, but probably Chiefs. Rams, Chiefs, Super Bowl. Wouldn't it be wild if it was like that regular season game a few years ago? Best regular season game of all time. But Rams, Chiefs, probably how it's going to end. All right, we're going to go on to the third take. We're going to talk a little baseball. All right. I wanted to talk about this. Of course, I'm wearing my Braves jersey. It's got my name and number on the back. I love it. I've had this jersey for about 10 years now. A big baseball fan, big Braves fan. Oh, and I don't know if you can see it. I got the Main Street Preps shirt on underneath. It's backwards. I got the Main Street Preps shirt on underneath. But it is baseball season. It's baseball season, and I'm excited. As long as they get to play. I mean, they're stuck in a lockout now. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand how these lockouts work. I know that most people want to blame the players. I would strongly suggest that you look at the actual information and then make a decision after that. I know that players typically want stuff like that. That's fine. But if the money isn't shared, it just goes back into the pockets of the same billionaires and billionaire groups that own these teams. There needs to be more parity. There needs to be some rule changes. The NL needs a DH like nobody's business, because the AL teams, they get to build their roster differently. Nelson Cruz has played 3 or 4 more years than he should have, and he hasn't been on the field since then, but he hits 40 homers a year. AL teams can build their roster like that. NL teams, they don't get to. Your fourth outfielder in the NL is going to be some guy that hits 220, can play defense and run the bases. I think it takes a little bit more of managerial intelligence to run an NL team. AL with the DH, just throw them out there. Hey, don't have to worry about where your pitcher's at. Don't have to worry about this or that. But They're probably going to vote on the NL getting the DH. They met yesterday, I think. Yeah, they met yesterday for about 2.5 hours. And talks must have went okay because they were willing to meet again today. I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but I thought the talks were going better yesterday until I read an article where I didn't actually read the article. I just scrolled past it. It said that somebody got into it with somebody else. Who knows? Everybody's throwing a big hissy fit right now if you're on either side. So I really, as a baseball fan, I really hope they can figure out a way to get the season started and on time. But if that doesn't happen, I saw something on Reddit last night, I want to say. I was scrolling through Reddit, and somebody said that if baseball games actually did get taken away, which there was a report of that. I think Jeff Passan actually said that on Twitter. I'm not sure, but there's a possibility we may lose some games this year. And somebody else on Reddit said, well, if they do lose games, then these TV providers should be open to showing college baseball games. And I thought that's a genius idea. Now, I've always been a Tennessee Volunteer fan, and I've kept up with the baseball program since Julio Bourbon played. I mean, I've been watching for a long time. But last year and the year before, basically since Vitello got to town, Tennessee's actually been really, really fun to watch. And, of course, last year they got to the College World Series. I think if you do give some local regional areas an opportunity to show some of the local regional college teams, that could really help grow college baseball, which would be neat. I think that would be really cool. But there are so many different ways to look at this lockout. I do hope the lockout ends quickly. My issue, and I'll end it on this. My main issue there's two really main issues I have with the whole thing. First of all, billionaire owners do not, and that's at the root of all the problems. All right. They don't deserve just to keep hoarding the money. I don't think that's how that should work at all in any business, especially baseball that generates as much money as it does. That's the first issue. Now, here's the second issue. This basically comes down to a disagreement between Rob Manfred and Tony Clark. Rob Manfred is the commissioner of MLB. Tony Clark is the leader of the players union. And my real issue is the fact that those two gentlemen can't get along with each other is the reason why it's this far in a hole right now. If you don't have the intelligence or the balls to sit there and actually have a conversation with somebody that disagrees with something that you have to say, you shouldn't be in the position that you are, either one of them. Manfred has obviously done a lot of things that a lot of people disagree with. Tony Clark, I've never heard anything negative out of anybody about Tony Clark. Now, I'm not a part of this deal. I haven't been there when they've talked to each other. Maybe Tony Clark is a complete jerk and Manfred's actually on the good end. I don't know. But if you have two grown people, men, women, whatever, if they don't have the ability to be able to talk to each other and have an adult conversation to get something done for the greater good, both of them should be fired from their position, as far as I'm concerned. All right, I'm going to end with that right there. Now let's talk about a little bit of high school sports, and we'll get out of here. All right. As most of you know, we're in the middle of basketball season. Dixon went to Fairview, and then I think they're going to host Kenwood later in the week. Creekwood hosted Greenbrier, and then they're going to travel they're going to host Greenbrier, and then they're going to go to Montgomery Central later in the week. A lot of the Cheatham County teams are playing each other. I was actually at a game last night between Cheatham and Harpeth. It was a wild ending. The girls' game, Cheatham was able to kind of run away. Cheatham's a really strong program. Harpeth has a new girls' coach. Kind of see how that goes the way it did. But I do like Katie Pacifici, the coach at Harpeth. I think she's got the girls playing hard. I really do. But Cheatham, Coach Jim Gibbs out there, he knows what he's doing. He's a heck of a coach. Great guy. They got a lot of talent on that team. They were able to just pull away. But the boys' game was wild. Harpeth got out to 11-0 run. Cheatham come back and took the lead, and both teams just fighting back and forth. It's like a heavyweight boxing match, just trading punches. Harpeth was able to hold them off. It was 45-43. Cheatham got the ball with 7 seconds or 8 seconds and made their way down the court and went for a layup, and it was blocked. And really fun game. There was a little bit of an issue with people running on the court at the end of the game, children and adults. That's something real quick that needs to be addressed. If you're an adult, stay off the court at the end of the game. Don't talk to the children. Be an adult, please. I know that kids are going to be rambunctious and do stupid things. We were all in high school. We've all done stupid things. It's okay to keep them from hurting each other or themselves to defend somebody, but don't go out on the court and act a fool and start barking at a 16-year-old. Nobody thinks you're cool. That's idiotic. Please don't do that. But all the Cheatham teams are playing each other this week. Which those in the in-county games, I talk about this all the time. They're so much fun. They're so much fun. These kids know each other. The parents know each other. The stands are packed for these games, so that's awesome. Wrestling is full go right now. Everybody's wrestling. And Sycamore had a memorial tournament, I want to say about a week and a half ago, for Ariel Rojas Avila. And he was a former wrestler and football player at Sycamore who passed away tragically. But they held a memorial tournament for him. The War Eagles were able to come away with the win. It's really big for Coach Hamblin and that program out there in Pleasant View. I think it's a great event that they did for Rojas Avila and his family. But wrestling's full go. I will say, and this is the last thing I wanted to talk about, watching the Titans was disappointing, but it was extremely disappointing because Friday, of course, I'm an assistant coach for Creekwood in bowling. And Wednesday, we had the individual tournament. We had a few girls that bowled well, but didn't bowl great, and so we didn't have a winner in the individual tournament. But Thursday started off the state tournament for the teams, and Creekwood was able to get past the quarterfinal round, and so was Dixon County. Dixon County's got a heck of a boys team. They got a really good boys team, a lot of talent. Dixon was able to win their quarterfinal round against Seymour, and we were able to win our quarterfinal game against Gatlinburg-Pittman. It took me a minute to think about it. There's not a lot in my brain, so it's hard to imagine me forgetting things, but I do. But Creekwood was able to beat Gatlinburg-Pittman. And then in the semifinal round, Dixon actually ran into Smyrna, and Smyrna's got a really good team, and it was in their home house. So that's where Dixon's season came to an end, but nothing to be ashamed of. Those guys should be really proud. That was a really good team, and they gave Smyrna a pretty good run for their money. Dixon's going to be back next year. They've got young talent. They're still going to be good. But Creekwood, the Lady Redhawks, we were able to defeat Stewart's Creek, which is also Redhawks. It was kind of funny. But Stewart's Creek was a really, really good team. And you could tell once practice started, it was going to be a dogfight, and it was. And then, but with the semifinal win, Creekwood advanced to the state final game against Hardin County, and Hardin County has won now 9 straight girls titles, TSSAA state titles. If you don't know much about bowling, I'll do this as quickly as I can. The way the scoring works, the first game, it's 6-on-6. Your best 6 bowlers against their best 6 bowlers. And all 6 of their bowlers beat our bowlers. They beat us 6-0. And they took overall pin count, which is another 2 points. So overall, they were up 8-0 after the first game. They were up 8-0, and they had 170 pins over us. But the next 5 games that followed, which are Baker format games, which basically means you have one bowler that bowls the first and the 6th frame, and then your second bowler bowls the 2nd and the 7th, and so on and so forth, right? Mathematically, Creekwood had to win every single Baker game, which, looking at a team that had won 8 straight state titles, you think, well, that's impossible. Well, Creekwood won 4 of them. They won the first 4 Baker games and actually tied it up. I think the pin difference was like 40 pins, and it was 8-8 after 4 Baker games. And as a coach, I was on cloud 9, not because I wasn't arrogant to the point where, we're going to win this match. It was the fact that we got down by that much, and those girls were willing to battle their way back into the match. And that's exactly what they did. As a coach, there's really nothing else you can ask for. I told them afterwards, I said, you girls did everything I asked of you. You did it to the best of your ability. We didn't win. That means that's on me. As a coach, if your team gives you everything that you asked for and you're not winning, it's on you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. As a coach, it's on you. And that's the way I felt. I mean, personally, I have to do better as a coach, obviously. I have to continue to get better as a coach. But those girls, man, it was really fun to watch them battle back the way they did. That last Baker game, we were tied in the 5th frame. I think maybe we were 2 or 3 pins up or down, one way or the other, but it was basically a drag race to the end. And I want to say we had an open frame in the 6th and 7th frame, and they went strike. And Hardin County went strike. And that was all she wrote, really. I mean, they kind of pulled away, and they wound up winning the last game by about 30 pins or so. But Hardin County defeated Creekwood 13-10 in the state final. This is the second time now Hardin County's defeated Creekwood in the state final, which it stings a little bit because I was that close. I was that close, and I was going to take out a loan and go get one of those big state championship rings. I was going to be obnoxious about it. I wanted one of those rings so bad I can't even explain it. But we didn't win. But the head coach, Scott, he said it best. He said he didn't care what the ending score was. We were champions that day because of the way we fought. And I agree. And I think if you take that mentality and that mindset with you wherever you go, you'll always figure out a way to win, whatever that definition is for you. So bowling season's now over. Bowling's over. Football's over. Man, listen, come on, lockout end. I need some Braves baseball in my life. I got to have something go my way. Thanks for checking out Casey's Take this week. I'm going to try and keep getting better at this. So follow me on Twitter, CVP51. You got anything you want to say to me? You got anything you want me to talk about? Shoot it. Shoot it to me. We'll talk about it. But thank you, and we'll see you next time.
This has been Casey's Take on Sports. Follow Casey on Twitter at CVP51 and all of his work covering Dixon and Cheatham County prep sports at MainStreetPreps.com.